Oh.
Let me know when you're ready. That was great. Yes. Let me know when you're ready.
Yes, I'm ready.
So,
Ready?
the next slide,
Mhm.
next slide, previous slide, or point on the board.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome everyone. So I have this opportunity to introduce Devavrat second time in a day. He gave a very interesting talk today at around 12 noon, where he spoke about causal inference. Next, we are going to have a workshop from Devavrat and his team. Let me just have a quick introduction for Devavrat, where I'll just go through his bio. So Devavrat Shah is Andrew and Erna Viterbi Professor of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science at MIT, where he has been teaching since 2005. He's currently the faculty director of the Deshpande Center for Tech Innovation. He was the founding director of the Statistics and Data Science Center at MIT between 2016 to 2020. His current research interests include algorithms for causal inference, social data processing, and stochastic networks. He's an alum from IIT Bombay, and he's been contributing significantly in research in the area of computer science, statistics. A lot of his papers are also published in business journals. Recently, they started a company called Ikigai, and as I understand, it is quite well funded right now. In fact, they hired a couple of alums, a couple of guys from IIM Ahmedabad last year, and we have our alums over here as well. And Devavrat, along with his team, is going to offer this workshop, and I've been eagerly looking forward for this. So let's see what exactly it is and how we can benefit in the classroom as well as in our research work through this tool that he's going to introduce. Yes, over to you, Devavrat.
Thank you so much. Again, thank you for hosting me again for this second session. Really appreciate it. It's very kind of you to spend so much time with us. You guys have been amazing hosts. We'll keep it entertaining enough for the end part of the day. Hopefully there'll be less speaking and more doing so that we don't fall asleep. As Ankush mentioned, I got with me Vinay and Chanakya, who are again fresh graduates from IIMA. So potentially you guys have already seen them on campus a little while ago. And we will sort of collaborate on this workshop. So what my hope is to very quickly give you just introduction background about what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do in this workshop, as in what we will build, and then sort of also give you a little bit of landscape of the tool. Now, before I do anything, right, first thing I want you to do is, sorry. First thing I want to is here's a plan, okay? But first thing is, of course, instruction. So you all have beautiful laptops in front of you, and hopefully something like Chrome on that and internet connection. So we're going to sort of go through this instruction. So I want you to take this instruction. I'm going to put it on the screen, start doing that, and then I will start telling you a little bit more. So while you are trying to do a bunch of things, helping yourself with some of the troubleshooting, naturally with any such thing, there's always a troubleshoot. Hey, why can't I log in here? My email has not come, it's gone to spam, all that kind of stuff. And all of that kind of stuff, Chanakya and Vinay sitting here in real time will be answering in a forum. So if you go to that tiny URL or QR code, you will see a ton of instruction that to follow up, sign up, all of that. And again, when you sign up, you will get an email for confirmation. Email confirmation might go in spam because, et cetera, et cetera. So just bear with that. But once you do that, and I will sort of show a bunch of things, what we will end up doing is, so this is a little bit about our company. Give me 1 second. So what we'll end up doing is building an end-to-end AI app, as I would call it. Okay. And I will show you what that app should look like. I'll play with you for a bit so that we are all motivated to do that. And then I will sort of, depending on interest at that time, I will ask question whether you are interested in me showing you a demonstration of some of the solutions that we have built for enterprises, or you just want to go ahead and make your hands dirty, so to speak, metaphorically, of course. Okay. So with that, let me get started. Let me ask a question. Have people got that, or more importantly, the tiny URL link copied, because that's the key. If you have got that tiny URL link copied, then you are in business, because there is enough that you can follow from there. Okay. Or QR code for that matter. Okay. You'll get an instruction sheet, which is very detailed there. You might have to follow it, but hopefully you will multiplex a little. Okay. Dropbox link, which has a PDF for very detailed instruction sheet. Okay. It should also have instruction of how to sign up on online forum for Discord, where that Discord channel is, as we speak, is in this case manned by Vinay and Chanakya. So any questions that you have, just start typing there, and then more than happy to. And also they're here. So if you have some question, just feel free to raise your hand and they will keep looking and come to you. Okay. So while that is happening, let me see, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. I'll go move to the next slide. Yes, thank you. Appreciate it. It's always the thumbs ups that keep you alive. So with that, we're going to move. Just quickly about ourselves. We're the two founders of the company. Of course, Ankur told a little bit about myself. Vinayak, my former student and co-founder and CEO. He was MIT undergrad, 2012. He finished his undergrad, started his first company out of there, where it was recently acquired by Blackstone Health Edge. They primarily sort of built a point solution for healthcare providers to provide remote healthcare support. Came back to MIT, did his grad school with me, built a tech, and then we started a company out of this. We are, as a company, seed stage funded. We got a few venture firms involved, 8 VCs, founder of Palantir, one of the founders of Palantir, Joe, whose firm it is, underscored out of Boston, formerly Northbridge, an institutional VC that has become underscored now, in Foundation Capital, which primarily small, but primarily invest into AI software infrastructure. Founders of Zoom, Zuora, Databricks, Datadog, CMT, and few others are also our investors. As I mentioned, what we're building AI apps platform for ops team, as I would call it. And it's a very interesting conversation that with Ankur and others we had over lunch, that who is the primary persona? And really the primary persona is somebody we think of maybe a data analyst, a data scientist, and a data engineer put together, but hopefully we're simplifying it. Okay, so now I have sort of snapshots that I can show you what we're going to build. I don't want to do that. I would rather show you the thing that is built already in my environment. Okay, so I'm going to change the screen. Okay, so I've got, when I logged in, this was my, let's say, this is how my account looked like. Okay, let me see how I get Roller working. Okay, so it's a very busy account, okay, because I do a ton of work out of that. I manage most of my work now through this because it's my workspace. What you will end up doing is, after you log in, you will have almost empty space. You will go to a template, you will click on template, and you will sort of get this project, Intro to No Code AI, okay? But while you will do that, so click on it and it will get yourself a project coming in. I will show you sort of it under a different name. That's this Start Here project. Okay, and every project or every project is a unit of work. In that, there are, if you are to build data app, you need to sort of, or AI app, you want to get data from somewhere. You want to do something with it. Then you want to build advanced analytics on top, maybe machine learning. You want to build automation on top of it. You want to build interactive visualization or dashboards, actually more like a web app. And then you want to put all of that in production at scale. Okay, and then you want to make it collaborative and you want people to interact. So all of them can be done in one place. And really the way to think about it is these three things are associated with data. This is where you do things with it. This is where you build the apps. This is where you host the models, like what one would call in modern jargon MLOps. And any project usually comes with its own things, right? Like, hey, these are the requirements that I have. So I'm giving you requirements, you're building it. So maybe you have sort of a Google Doc managing that, and maybe slides and things like that. So all of those things are done in one place. There are a bunch of connectors built out of the things. For example, if you wanted to add a new connector, which is you just click and you choose what you want. Okay, there are hundreds of things out there. If you don't find it, and if you want to build a new connector, it's as easy as going here and asking for custom collector, and then so all there is 4 lines of code. You build it, submit it, and then that pipe is built that anybody can share. You can build your internal database here. So it's like lightweight Snowflake, if you think about it, or data sets, you can just upload it if you like, of all sorts. Flow is where we will build it, and dashboard is where the end thing is. So let me start with the end first. So I'll show you this is what you're going to build, okay? My hope is that barring any other operational logistical issues, you will be able to build this in a couple of hours. Okay. So what are we going to build? Okay, so since we are among friends and we want to make sure so we know what we are building, here is a sort of, in this dashboard that you're going to build, we just sort of put first part is to telling what is the process of building. So first we're going to get data sets. Now this is the data set that's about housing. So imagine that you are in a business of buying a house, you go to different houses, and now you see different features of the house, and based on that you want to say, what is the right price for it? You're going to build a predictor for it. For that, I want you to build a web interface, which I'll show you in a second, that effectively provides you price recommendation. So after you choose the features of the house, you press a button, it runs the whatever and provides you answer. Okay. To do that, to build that, first thing behind the scene you have to do is get the data, prepare, stitch, all that stuff, build predictive models on top of it, do a bunch of, if you call AutoML, all that kind of stuff. Then you deploy it, then you build the front end, then you sort of connect the front end and the back end, you put all of those in production, and then you type those things, right? So that's what we'll do. So here is just pieces of this, where I'm just showing you a data, where you're just inspecting a raw data. You got of housing features and all that stuff. And you got housing prices. And these are the 2 different data sets. These are just information of what the features mean, things like age, number of rooms, lower income status. Those are the 3 features we will use. Okay. There's a part where it's a feature selection that we have not included here because it becomes a little advanced. But again, that's something you can add to this. But for the purpose, let's just say that somebody has thankfully done feature selection for us, which are these 3 features: age, number of rooms, and LSTAT that will matter. And the thing that we want to predict is the median housing in that region for that kind of a thing. Okay. We will stitch it together and then sort of just look at sort of how the data looks like. Okay, and again, this is median housing price stitched together with other features. So now 2 data sets are put together in one. Effectively, it's just a simple join, nothing more complicated. And some statistics about it. You can describe the features if you like. Okay. Then comes the price prediction. So we build a model, okay, and then try to understand what sorts of prediction happens. So there's one feature, if you remember, it's called lower income status. So on x-axis is the lower income status, y-axis is the median price. As you can see, there's no trend between these 2 features. Okay, it just, however, the model that we will build, effectively a variation of random forest by clicking and all that, it has got pretty good accuracy across. So dark blue is so actual thing, and light blue is the predicted prices across those things. That gives me a good confidence that something is doing well. Same thing with respect to the number of rooms. Again, no visual trend, but there's something interesting happening that is we're able to learn. And there's some more information. Okay. And now finally the predictor. Okay. So here is a simple dashboard. Again, sort of we can make it more complicated, but let's just keep it simple. Okay. And here is a very simple interface we built. If you want like very, very complicated, you can insert whatever CSS is, as one would call it, into it and design the way you like. So let's say here I'm going to delete these row, for example. I don't want to make this query, and I'm going to add one more new query for a house with 5 years old, lower income status 10%, and number of rooms 3, along with these 2 other queries. Let me save this query. Okay, and now I'm running a recommendation. So what I'm asking, effectively what's happening is in real time, those data points are sent back to the prediction model that we built. It queried the model, it got the responses back, and now I'm going to simply refresh this so that it will show me the answers. Now let me sort of move this. Okay, and so these are the 3 responses to the things that I just sort of submitted. Okay, and so this is how it'll happen in real time. Finally, if you want to build alerts, okay, so this is effectively saying that, well, in Massachusetts, all the houses under 200K, okay, every day send me an email, send an email to that, and you can do that. Or whenever a new house comes into this, whatever complicated or simple alert you want to design, you can design that. And this would require effectively for you to go and daily or whenever you want to run this, web scrape the data on Zillow.com or something like that, bring it into your environment, run the logic on top, and then do that. And depending on how the time is today, you might be able to do that as well. Otherwise, there'll be a tutorial style aspect, like a video that you can follow and build it. Okay. So that's what we want to do. Any questions or comments? Just one last thing, the way we will I was showing you the front end. Effectively, we are going to do like this. We will drag and drop things from here to here, and that's how we will build the whole thing. Okay, I'm not going to sort of make any changes. Discard, yes, leave. Okay, and let me go back to this one last part, which is just a flow, just to give you an idea. So let's say our stitch data. Okay. So here is the housing price data that, if you remember, that we were seeing. So I'm just peeking it. Now, the one nice thing about this interface is that it allows you to constantly, as you're building the flow in the back, constantly allows you to look at the data that's coming out, or you can sort of also do a bunch of things from here. You can search for operation or facet here, or do column operations and things like that. And that would add these kind of pieces, which you'll drag and drop from here into your flow building. Here, for example, we've just joined the data, and what this is doing behind the scene is running the whole join, and now it's showing you the join data. So there's a row number, all of that, and then the price along with the features. Okay. Let's see. Again, this is one workplace where you can get data sets, connectors, all that. You can build a custom facet. So if there is anything that is not here, right? Like, for example, here I have a bunch of facets like this. I can sort of know what they are, text split, all that. But if you need an operation that's not there, and you want to sort of build that operation by yourself, you can just simply build a new custom facet, and you can add a simple Python script here. You can open this into Jupyter Notebook-like environment if you don't like this one. You can call whatever you want, write down your text, whatever arguments you want to add. So think of this as basically a nice library, but it's a box with whatever argument you want, whatever code you want to put in. And now that goes back in the system, gets saved, all that stuff. And now you can sort of, it will become available under custom facets here, and then you can drag and drop. Okay. So, and if you want to build something and you want to share with somebody else, that's your marketplace where you can share with people. And if you want a data connector that is not there, you can build something like this. For example, at some point of time, I had built SAP HANA Crowd Corrector, or Yahoo Finance Web Scraper for Apple stock. Okay. So this is basically the nuts and bolts of the platform. And again, the best way to understand or its strengths and limitation is actually build things on top. So that's what we will do. Let me quickly cut to the chase and just give you in the bigger scheme of things, right? To do all of these things that we discussed, one way to do that is to stitch many of these things together, right? And what our premise here is that maybe you can do all of these things in one place. Okay. There are a few other proprietary pieces of tech that we make available through specific, let's call it blocks or collection of such blocks, where, for example, you want to connect to multiple data sources where there are no common keys or there's missing values or errors and all that. You can do it with what called deep match. There's a bunch of all the open source forecasting things are there. In addition, there's a class of algorithms that my group had developed over past 10 years. They're available as well. It's open source again. And then sort of there's a reinforcement learning for operations there, where a bunch of use cases that we've built, especially in the context of supply chain, retail, financial fraud detection, all that stuff. And again, if there is an interest, we can sort of show you quick demos of those solutions, or if there's a better that you guys get building, we can just get building.
So all the computations and everything when we're training the model is going to happen in your service.
On servers. Okay. And there are
export data when you join through stitching. Is there a facility like I want to do a quality check of whether what I was thinking, whether it is correct or not? Like at a granular level, is it possible to do a quality check on the data stitching part, or do we need to do from the web browser?
So I in part missed your question, if you don't mind. Your question was related to something like exporting data?
Yes. So when I'm stitching the data, is there a facility to export a sample in Excel or CSV for a quality check, or if any client asks that whether the stitching is correct or not?
Yeah. So, okay, so maybe I did this too fast. Okay, so my hope was exactly when I was showing you something like this, right? Let's say here is the, let me just show you this. Okay, so let me not do quick peek because then joins don't work. Okay, and so here what's happening is that sort of I'm joining the data and output of the join is shown here.
Yeah.
So this is like, you don't even need to download into spreadsheet. This is your refactory spreadsheet view. And you can keep going to the different pages of that and so on and so forth.
Okay.
And if you really wanted to export it, you can actually, as it was shown here, you can just export it into this, let's say, stitched housing thing that is available here. So let's say, where is this? Stitch housing, and then you can just browse it if you want to directly browse it as a data set. And what this will do is it'll just show you the entire file in a spreadsheet view again, which you like, you can just download it. Okay. And if you want to download it, you can just download it like by going back to, let's say, a data set. And I think data stitch. So you can just, here you can go and simply download it. Okay.
Model results also are not, are they exportable, or if we want to see the coefficients of the model, those are also in the particular tab where we are doing the.
Yeah, so for example, one thing I would say, this model tab basically shows sort of what are the models that you have deployed, because as you build it, you can instantly deploy it so that they become queryable. Coming to the model itself, as you will go through this process, you'll see there is a model that you will build, and is a part of that model building. You can set a bunch of things like which you want as you do the advanced model, or so if you don't want to know which model you're using, you're just simply predicting, you just leave it, don't define it. But if you want to be an advanced persona and you want to sort of do a bunch of things, then you go in advanced step, set things, get all sorts of information, including cross-validation information and things like that. Okay, so there we can play with a bunch of things. Okay, things like scheduling can happen. If you want to run one flow and one flow triggers another flow, that can be done through things like chain flow. Like you can just say which flow you want to trigger downstream and so on and so forth. Dashboards are directly accessible here. You can just go there. So keeping going back and forth is easy. Charts are units of visuals that you build, then because at the end of the day, dashboard is a collection of things. So if some of those components are visual components, then they're like charts that you want to bring in. So that's a charts you build on top of it, of data sets. And so as data updates, charts naturally update. A chart naturally update. If they're built into a dashboard, the dashboard naturally updates. And all of these are fully shareable. So you can share the project, you can share the dashboard. You can share a dashboard so that somebody else just has access to dashboard under login. Okay. So there are a ton of those second order features. And again, I don't know if this really matters, but if you want to, let's say, build a model and you want to query it through API call from outside, you can actually have API keys, and there is a developer doc where you can sort of call the things from outside with the right header information, like the post request or get request, and get the data back. Okay. So let me not get too much ahead of myself, because then it's going to be counterproductive. But okay, coming back to one last thing, there's because of this dashboard, one can have human in the loop component where, for example, you build a model, you produce the answers you want to sort of upward, downward change. And then you want to feed it back to the model and let model keep training. So that kind of a human in loop, in a sense, it's one way to think about what happened between GPT to chat GPT. That was one of the important features that was there, as they call it reinforcement learning, but in a sense, it's just human in the loop labeling. So things like that can be enabled. Maybe I'll show you one quick demo of that. And I think that's roughly what I want to show before we get started with and I hand it over to the gentleman here. So let me just show you one quick demo of that. Sorry. So this is a very classic setup of, you got a ledger where data is coming in, transactions are coming in and going out. Okay, so it's positive transaction, negative transactions. And what's happening here, as you'll see, so let's say these are the two negative transactions, here is one positive transaction. You look at these text entries, roughly the dates, looks like these two things should reconcile with this. And similar information is there, but things start getting complicated a little as you go down. Information is a little scrappy and all that stuff. Okay, it's hard to match, but maybe as a human, you looked at, you squinted your eyes, looked at the numbers addition and all that, maybe you will be able to figure it out. Question is, how do we do it with AI? Well, some of these are rules, right? Saying that, well, whenever these things happen, match. But some of them are beyond the rules. And that's where what you can do is that we can do the basic, take the data, put it through, let's say, a trained model that matches these things, one to many or many to many. And after that, you actually let the human experts actually build provide thumbs up and thumbs down. So here what's happening is that we're at some stage where there are those transactions. Machine has figured out, at least the model has figured out transaction clusters. So one of the clusters that looks something like this. So let's say here is a 003, let's say, or 0006. So this is a simpler cluster where this adds up to these things and summation is 0. You can say, well, this looks good to me, match them, and then you're in a match. But if you look at another cluster like this, maybe things are not matching exactly, but you believe that these three things look good. Okay, match it, save it, run that model incremental retrain again, and that will sort of keep doing that. So this kind of a human in the loop piece, to do that, you really need an easy to use human interface like this, and the flows and computation behind the scene. And those two things have to work hand in hand. And that's what ability to do end-to-end app enables, that one or the other does not. Okay. So with that, I think let me sort of stop the speaking and let's sort of start doing. My hope is at least most of you are able to log in and at least get to some place. So maybe you guys want to sort of take over and then slowly walk them through the things. And I know that you guys have done this many times better than me. So I'll let you dictate how the process should work the best. So would you log in from here or? There's a sort of a PowerPoint also open there, and maybe I'll give you the mic. Yeah.
So just want to ensure like is everyone able to sign up or anyone facing sign up issues? So what we need to do is to access this, we need to go to template projects and download it. So everyone downloaded this project, go to get template projects. Yeah, so the project has a lot of data sets and the ML model in it. So yeah, it will take 1 or 2 minutes to get download.
Start here.
Yeah.
Kept a snack page. So
Okay.
after 15 or 20 minutes, we can have a break as well and then come back and continue also. Or
Yeah.
एक project करके एक demo करके then before the next demo we can
Maybe we can like start with one part, we data joining we do and then we do the break. Okay.
And on the mic like online we have the entire EBA class.
Okay.
Advanced Business Analytics का जो program है ना, so all of
Okay.
them are there on that.
Great.
So I think they are the best audience we can.
Yeah. So yeah, you can
you make sure?
Yeah, as anyone for the online audience also, like everyone is able to log in. So yeah, like for me, like
The chat, yeah.
yeah, we are saying yes.
And just let's follow it.
Yeah. Sure. So like to open it, just click on this and you will be able to open the flow. So the first part is like will stitch the data, will make this whole hands-on app. So the part one will be stitching of data. So what we'll be doing is like we'll be adding those housing prices, housing features data set that are already downloaded there, and we'll make a join of it, and yeah, we'll drop some columns from it, and yeah, and export the data set. That will do is first. So like I can do it. Do you want to do it live with me or? Yeah, sure.
So how about this? So is a better way to do that is to just play the video. Like when the people get pause, you can play the video here on the screen, and then alternatively, one of you build it one step at a time. So those are the only two modes that will work, because if you show the build version, people will get confused.
Okay.
Can we start from scratch and then
Yeah.
each and everything?
You typically do, how do you do it that works best?
Yeah, okay.
So so let's do it from like scratch only. Data structure.
So we'll build this flow now. So we can see. Okay.
You also speak the loud.
And look at the other track.
Yeah.
Hello. I'm audible, right?
Yeah, just be a bit louder.
Is it better now?
Yes, it's better.
Okay. So maybe once again I'll sorry. So if you remember here, so we have two data sets, but these two are different, but these two data sets are matching on a row column called row. So what that means is like row number 1 is similar. So row number features are here, but the prices are not available here. So what we are trying to do is,
So how do we get to the data set? So right now we have a blank screen over here.
yeah, so you must have the project in your account, right? So maybe I'll start from the,
Let's start
sure.
from scratch.
So
Yes.
Yeah, we first we downloaded the get template project, and like you intro to no code project would have get downloaded.
This project is the first thing that you need.
yes,
Yeah.
Uh,
Click on to
if
get
you are-
template project.
So wherever you are, please click on this Ikigai logo. It will redirect you to the home page, and you will see the get template project. And if you scroll a little down, you will see the intro to no code AI project. Click on this and submit it. Give it a couple of minutes. It will load a new project into your account, and it will load all the dashboards, data sets. It's importing all the flows, data sets, dashboards, models. We can start from scratch as well, but if we work in the same project, we'll have the data sets readily available. That will save a little time. Otherwise, we can start a new project right away and upload the data sets, and that way also we can do.
Let's stick to one.
Yeah. So we are sticking to getting the templates project, and we'll use the data sets available in the project, and we'll build this flow now. Yeah, let me know when everyone has this intro to no code AI project in their account. So please refresh a couple of times so that you should be able to see 7 flows, 12 data sets, and 14 resources. That means that is completed. While it's loading, maybe you'll see in progress tab is in loading stage.
Get template project in the project.
Yeah, so click on the template project, scroll, and you will be able to see intro to no code AI as the project name. Right. I'll give a couple of minutes so that people have it handy.
Maybe one thing to do in the meantime while that's happening is just going to the project just show sort of what the data sets are.
Okay.
That should be fine.
Sure. So in this project, once the project is imported completely, you will see bunch of data sets. So housing features is one data set wherein, as I said, it will have all the features as a separate data set, like having along with the row column, it will have all the features like criminal data, lower stat, age parameter, and number of rooms as a parameter. And we have a separate data set called housing prices. You can also find it inside the data sets here.
You were planning to keep it black, right?
Yeah. So yeah. Once people have the project,
Like, can we start building this everything downloaded to the Google project?
okay.
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 I think this point is
No. Yeah.
it's quite big. Yeah, it is a heavy person. Probably on my side or
Yeah. Maybe everyone is trying.
Yeah. Okay. So how about this? Let's imagine that at least few of them have gotten successfully, and let's start doing that. People will catch up. Don't worry.
Okay.
Because I think at least otherwise we'll just keep it stuck here.
Yeah. So I'll start, like I'll guide you step by step. Go to the flows section. Click on
pre-built flow, right?
Yeah.
Which is like your sort of cheat sheet. If you sort of cannot sort of build it yourself, you can go there. But let's start from scratch with a new flow, right? So we click on flow.
Yeah.
And then we get
Create a new flow. So we'll be creating the stitching, right? Stitching demo. We don't need to select any folder name. If we
good. So I think sort of this is the first blank screen, right?
Yeah.
And all you need to do is sort of primarily stitch two data sources.
Yeah, you'll be seeing a blank screen. We'll be dragging and dropping all the facets that we need for this.
We're going to bring the data sets from the
So in this,
Simply drag and drop.
yeah. So if you go to the data sets, maybe you can search for the data set here, or you since there are only a couple of data sets here, we can quickly find it. So we'll drag in the housing features to the flow building page, and it automatically peeks into the data so that you can see. So you can see a couple of rows, or if you want to see the entire data, you can disable the quick peek and you can disable the randomize as well. So quick peek enables you to watch the data very quickly, but you will only see 100 rows. But if you disable the quick peek, you will be seeing, so there are 506 rows in the entire data set for housing features. Similarly, we'll also pull in the housing prices data set, which is a separate data set.
Features and housing prices.
Housing prices, yes. So housing prices is also having 506 rows, but here the case is like we have the row as a key that combines these two data sets. Now what we are trying to do is like, we will so select any of these facets. So every block that you're seeing, we call it as a facet. Right. So click on any of these facets and go to the merge group and select the join facet and drag it to the flow page so that it connects it to the join facet. Yeah, I'll delete it and I'll repeat it again. So click on any of these facets. Either is fine. Housing features, I'm selecting housing features and then going to the merge group. So you will find a lot of facets here. So we are since we are trying to merge two data sets here, we are going into the merge bucket and we are pulling in the join facet. And what we'll do is we'll also connect the other. Let me just cancel this. So we will connect the housing prices data set as well to the join facet. Right. No, the unique identifier is there in the data. We are trying to use that key as a matching column between the two data sets. Yes, we will do that. We'll do that. Yeah.
So there is further facet called inference. I'm going to use it here, but That will find all of these things on its own. But then it will do some bunch and on top.
Is everyone able to reach to this stage, like connecting? Okay. Okay. You'll go to the merge bucket and you will pull in the join facet. So you will start from the bubble. You will connect to the other bubble, right? So it will ask for arguments here. So one of the tables we select it as a left table. So for joining, we need both left and right tables, right? So we can specify which one we want to be on the left side and which one we want to get on the right side. So based on the assignment of left and right, you will see the arrangement of columns differently. If you keep this as left, then the columns in this data set would appear first and then followed by other data sets. Now,
So how do we decide left and right? Okay,
you click on the edit icon. When you hover on the arrow, you will see a pencil icon.
on the arrow.
Yeah.
Needs argument.
Yeah.
Needs argument.
So if you hover on the arrow, you will see pencil icon. If you click on the pencil icon, it will ask for what is the table side. So there is a drop down for table side. Right. So similarly, do the same for the right table as well. And now we want to give the option, right? So which kind of join do you want to do? Like, do you want to do left join, right join, full join? So all sorts of joining. So for this case, we can go with maybe left join, and the key that we are using in this data set is row. Row in the left table and row in the right table as well. So it depends on the data set that you have, but in this case.
Can you explain what is left join?
So left join is basically if you, is there a way I can draw on this?
But when we think about left join, is that you've got two tables, right? Join settles what? Row on left and row on right. If they're matching, they're matching. Now it's possible that there are 100 rows on left, 200 rows on right. Out of these 100 rows, let's say 60 match on this. So that's all you match. Everything else from here remains unmatched. But then there's a lot of things that are unmatched from here, right? You don't want it. That's called left. Right is exactly the opposite. And outer join is everything that's matched here and here do that. Unmatched here and unmatched here keep that. Inner join is forget about unmatched thing, only keep matched. Those are the four variations of it. Like a classical database view of the world.
So once you specify the arguments, please update so that it saves. Right. So ideally, we should be able to. So after this stage, if anyone wants to peek how the data looks like, we can click on the join facet and we'll connect to the export facet. We will not be doing the exporting right now, but we'll just be peeking so that we can see how the data looks like after this join facet. So click on the join facet, go to the output group. So this is output group. You will find export
Fixed facet.
Yeah. So fixed facet is it needs arguments, but it is needed for when you run it. Yeah, we'll come to that. We'll fix that in a while. But for now, we'll be peeking after the join facet so that we can see how the join facet has.
The join facet, how do we fix the facet? Can you define that one?
Yeah. So if you click on the join facet, you need to specify the option which kind of join you want to do. We'll select left join. And if you click on the plus add, you can specify the column names from both the left and right table.
What does that mean?
So there is a column called row in the housing features data set that we use as a key, and there is a column called row in the right table as well, which is common to both the tables. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I identify also.
Yeah.
And the data sets. But then after doing this also I'm getting fixed facet.
Fixed facet on join facet? Please make sure you update the facet, or maybe refresh the page once again. It's optional. We can give so.
Yeah, refreshing.
Okay, left on row. So it's optional to give facet name. It makes the flow readable so that people will understand what's happening inside. Is everything fine up to this point? Yeah. So I'll delete this. Select the join facet. Go to the output group and drag in the export facet.
Yeah.
Or otherwise, you can select this and search for export facet. That will also give you the export facet. So if you type export, you will find exported facet. You can click.
When I connect the join facet with export, then the fixed facet is disappearing from here.
Okay, yeah. Because this is a mid facet, it needs to be connected to something else. Yeah. Okay, moving on. So now we did the joining. We are picking on the join data, and we are seeing that everything is fine. We are getting row 136 is matched with the 136 of other column, and we will also find the new table from the other housing prices table. It will appear on the left. So if you disable the quick peek, you should be able to see all the columns. So row number 34, we have the median value of prices along with all the features joined successfully. So what we will do now is like, we don't need the, let me open it once again. Now we don't need the row column since we have already joined. We can either keep it or we can leave it. It's up to us. So if you want to delete this column, which is no longer used for us, we can use the, so maybe I'm going a little fast here. So click on the join facet again. Go to the DB operations bucket and drop columns facet to the flow page. So it will add a new facet between join and export. Should I repeat this again? Yeah, I'll undo changes and I'll do. You can click on the join facet and you can search for it, export. Okay, so now what we'll do is like, since we don't need the row column here, we'll be clicking on the join facet. We'll be adding one more facet to the flow that will delete the unnecessary columns. So it's optional. So just to show you how we can build flows, we are adding it. So here, which column we want to drop, you can specify, and we'll select the row column and we'll update it. And now if you peek after the drop columns facet, you should be able to see the row column disappeared in this. So previously there was so the table was starting from row and criminal rate, Z and Indus and everything. Now, are you able to follow up to this point? Yeah, you can click on it to enable and disable. Yeah, so in between the facets, you will find an arrow. If you hover on the arrow, you will see an eye icon. So this is a peak. So far good. Yeah, so now we will save it to some CSV file and we'll run the flow. So stitch data demo. So we'll give the data set a name. It's optional, so we can either give it or leave it. So now you should be able to see that the fixed facet has gone after specifying the data set name.
So how do you get the fixed facet? You named it.
Yeah, I gave a name to the facet as a facet name. And I'm giving the data set, the CSV data a name, and I'm updating it. So now if you feel everything is in proper shape, yeah, we can keep it like if you have a directory available in your project, you can select that. So now I'm running this flow so that it saves it to a CSV file inside the project, and then you can build charts, all sorts of stuff. So we'll build charts after building these flows. Okay, now the flow has run. If you refresh this page once again, you should be able to see the new data set appearing here. Stitch data demo. In my case, it's given a stitch data demo. So you can browse it, or you can download it, or you can add charts to it. Right. So now we have the joint data set. Now what we'll do is like up to this, any questions or any difficulties by anyone? Yeah. So after join facet, I dropped the row column, which is not necessary for me further, and I connected this to a export facet. So you can select this. So export facet is like after building everything, the peak table just gives you a glimpse of how the data is looking like, but it's not saving anywhere. So in order to save it somewhere so that you can build data app or you can build charts over it, we need to run the flow and save it somewhere. So for that purpose, we use the export facet, which is if you click on any of these facets, if you click on the drop facet and go for the search for facet field, and if you type in export, you will find the export facet. If you click this, it will automatically connect this to. Okay. So after everything is done, you should be able to see the run button enabled. Otherwise, you will see it's grayed out so that you can't run. But once.
I don't see a run button.
Yeah, because you need to fix one of your facets. Maybe you haven't specified the arguments inside the data set. Can you show your screen? Yeah, so it's saying the drop column facet is, you need to fix this before.
How do we know that it was supposed to be fixed?
Yeah, it's giving a pop-up here.
Oh, okay.
Details.
On that, say, but how do you fix it?
Hmm?
How do you fix it?
Yeah, so we are trying to drop the row column, right? So we'll specify the column name. Yeah, it should load the column names. No. If it's slow, maybe try refreshing the page. It should be quick. Okay, it's very simple flow so far. So now what we'll do is like we'll go to, after we have the data, we'll try to apply basic random forest model, and we'll try to predict based on some of the features. We'll not be doing much of the feature engineering here, since this is basic demo just to give you an idea of how the platform works. We'll not get into too much details of the project, but we'll take a couple of columns and we'll apply machine learning model, and we'll join back with the original data, and we'll save it to a file. Right. So we'll start from scratch again. We'll create a new flow. Yeah. We are starting a new flow for predictions where we are applying a machine learning model. Yeah.
And then start this new flow.
Yeah. Yeah, so you are only peeking the data. That means you are just seeing the progress. Yeah. Yeah, so only after you run the flow, it's saving to somewhere. So the peak table is just a temporary version of the data. So we'll create a new flow. We'll call it predictions demo. Yeah. Yeah, if you go back, or if you even if you refresh here, you should be able to see here. Otherwise, you can go back and let me see. You're saying, right? Okay. So we are building the predictions flow, wherein we are pulling in the stitched housing data set that we have generated. Right. So what we are doing is like, we'll take the recent data set that we have generated. Right. So is it slow? So let's same data set. Yeah, the data set that you recently generated. Drag it to the flow page. Is my connection slow or something? Okay. If the peak is not working, you can try on the reset button here. It would stop everything. Now what we'll do is like, we'll select since we already know what columns are there in the data set, we'll select only few columns here to not make it too much complicated. Yeah. So here, since there are too many columns to drop, we can select the select facet, which selects a few columns instead of dropping them. Yeah, but either is fine. Now we'll select 3 features and 1 target variable for. Yeah, we are taking the joint data, the output of previous flow. We are taking only few columns. So we are taking 3 features and the target variable here. Okay. If you scroll on the data sets, you should see at the last.
Where have you imported it? Because there were options coming that which directory it should go to.
Yeah, it's optional. If you leave, if you keep it blank, it will.
I also left it blank.
It will store it in the root folder itself. So
where is the root folder here?
So here every file will appear here. So but the root folder, if you find it, you will find it in the dataset. So if you have specified some folder, then that would store it to folder. But if it's not specified, you will find it here in the home screen.
Which columns to select?
Yeah, we'll be selecting LSTAT number of rooms. For some reason, this peak is not working. So we'll be selecting median value, number, RM, LSTAT, and age. It would be great if the peak works. Is peak working for everyone? Peak चल रहा है क्या आपके?
you're gonna keep running in progress.
Four columns, right?
Yeah. One second. Yeah. So if you connected the import facet to the select facet, we are selecting LC, TAT, RM, AGE, and median value. So these three are the features, and this is the target column that we are trying to predict the. Yeah.
Directly enter, right?
Yeah, if you maybe because so far it was working fine and suddenly it's taking time to load. But if you remember the column names, please try to maintain the case sensitivity. Case sensitivity should be followed. Yeah.
LSTAT and RM enter.
Yeah. So it's case sensitive because the column names might be like, yeah.
This part is very similar to orange data mining.
Yeah. So now what we'll do is like, so we'll connect this to a machine learning model. So select this facet. Connect to predict facet from the machine learning group. Right. And now we'll select a new model. So it's already been there, but we can create a new model. New model. So if you click on the create new model, so we can select any type of, so there are some specific predefined models. So for this use case, we'll go with the decision trees, and under decision trees, we'll go with the random forest model. Is it clear so far? So connect the select facet to predict facet from machine learning group and edit this predict facet and go to the model name. Either you can choose the previous model or you can type in a new. If you type in a few characters, it will ask for new model. So maybe I'll create a new model again. So I'm giving the model a name and selecting the new model. And in this case, we are taking the decision trees and the random forest model. And after that, we'll be selecting override whether it is true or false. So since we are training the model, we are we should set it to true. And after this this flow is built, we will use the trained model in a new flow wherein we want to predict the new data. So it's up to you. You can give any name and you can create a new model. So here my target variable is median value of prices. So I'll give so ideally you should be able to see the column name appearing here, but since
The DB also.
Yeah, you should be able to see create a new model once you type in something. We selected the decision tree model, random forest. So now we will connect this data after the output of predict facet to the export facet. Sure. The target column is median value, MEDV. So we are predicting the median value of Boston housing prices based on the features we have selected in the select facet. So yeah, so if you go to the advanced panel, it's optional. So if you want to tweak the model, and these are the hyperparameters for this random forest model. If you want to select like what should be the depth of this random forest and how many samples, how many estimators you want to make the prediction to go for, and so it's optional. If you keep it to, if you disable this, it will take the default values, and if you want to tweak the model performance to have better accuracy and everything, you can change the hyperparameters. But for simplicity, let's keep this disabled. And
If you go to predict, where have you selected random models? Because I'm not getting that.
yeah, so if you edit this predict facet, you can search for the model name, and if you type a few characters.
When you type the name of the model for the first time, you get
Yeah. If the model is already there, you can select it. Otherwise, you can create a new model with a name.
When I'm writing random forest.
Yeah.
Okay, so you write anyway.
Yeah.
A new model. But where do I select that I want to create a random?
Yeah. So if you click this, it will redirect you to a different page wherein what is the model type.
But here,
It's available under decision trees and submodel is not. So now, so the best way to go over it is like peeking the data so that we'll know what's happening. But some reason
Hyperparameters do not check.
it will take the default hyperparameter. Yeah.
what is left to be fixed?
Yeah. So we need to give the output name, output facet a CSV. So we are giving it, maybe I'll write demo so that.
Then export after that.
Yeah. So once this is done, you can run this flow. Once you have fixed everything, you can run this flow. So it's going through it. So now we'll quickly look at the data. Since we are not able to peek here, I'll open a new tab and I'll open the data set. And if we feel the data set is not in a great shape, maybe we can tweak the flow again and we can run this flow again so that. So right now, what the so the prediction facet gives the output in terms of what are the predictions of the median value, as you can see here. So, but this is not readable, right, for end user. So what we'll do is like we'll join back the previous data so that we can read what's happening here. So if you observe the original flow, the basic functionality is the same. We are just making the output more readable by joining it back to the original data set. Right. So we'll create 2 copies of it and we will join this back with the original data and we will again export. So it looks complicated, but it's not complicated at all. So it's only, so what we'll do is like just to make the output more readable for the end user from the end user perspective, we will join this original data back with the results of this predict facet. So if you select the
Then exported.
Yeah.
What have you done here?
I'm taking a CSV file and I'm exporting it to any dataset name, and I'm running this flow and I'm observing the output.
And this exported will only contain the target column.
Yeah, no. So this will contain whatever is the output of this file flow.
So
But-
output of the flow will only be the predicted target column.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Yeah, so we are working on that, so that will be available in a couple of weeks. Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. So yeah, great. So peak is working here, so nice. So what we'll do is like we'll join this back. So this is a couple of extra steps, but we'll be able to simplify this flow diagram much further in a couple of weeks from now. So what we'll do is like we'll join this back to the original data. So we'll be selecting select facet and splitting the data here. So I hope you are able to follow this. So if you select the select facet and go to the split group, you can drag and drop the copy facet to the flow diagram. And we'll be having two copies of the same data. So one is before the predict facet and one is after the predict facet.
Just to compare.
Just to see just to make the output more in a more readable tabular format, complete output. Right. So what we'll do is like we'll connect this to. So I'll show you very quickly what I'm doing, then I'll explain the steps so that you'll understand. So I'll build this flow so that you will know what's happening by showing the output, and then I'll explain how to do the same. Yeah. So now if you see what I've done is like earlier the predict facet was giving only the predictions value. Now after joining this back with the original data, you can see all the other columns like LSTAT, number of rooms, age, parameters, and the left is here basically. The left here was that was coming from the left table, which was actual median value of the houses, and the right median value is the median values coming from the predict facet, which is the right table here. So what we'll do is like we'll change this name to predictions. So we'll add a rename facet here so that we don't want to see median left and right. So what we'll do is like so I'll explain everything once again so now you should see the output in more readable format, hopefully. Yeah, so now we have all the features, we have the original median values, and we have the predictions. Now if you run this and if you run this, it's again exporting. So now if we refresh the data set again, we should be able to see the same data set with all the features and all the predictions side by side so that it's more readable. So now we have all the features as well as the median. These are the actual values and these are the predictions. So what I did is like I select earlier the select facet was directly connected to predict facet and directly connected to export facet. But now what we are doing is like we are splitting the data into two groups. One we are sending it to the predict facet, one we are sending directly to the join facet, and the output of predict facet we are renaming it as predictions, and then we are just simply joining it row by row. Yeah.
There's no need to do all of that.
Yeah.
So how did you get it for that?
So if you click on the predict facet, you'll go to the transform bucket. You should see the rename columns, and you can drag and drop it to the flow page. It will directly inject it between the join facet and the predict facet.
Or make a new model and want to compare the results. So these models get stored and you can compare them.
Is everyone able to follow up to this?
And folder names, like how many names are here? So where we going to
How do you add?
first initial project. So they facet in this folder name.
System model.
Yes.
Yeah. So earlier Devavrat was saying, right? So if you have your own model that you want to use, what you can do is like you can go to maybe inside this itself. 1 second. So there is a Python facet as well. You can import all the libraries, you can add code to it, and you can do all sorts of. Yeah. So we are renaming it as predictions because it's coming out of predict facet. We are renaming it to predictions. Is everyone able to follow? Any questions?
This model, industry model, I mean, so why I'm asking is generally Python creates a pickle file for the model, right? Which we can use to score the data.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to, let's say, train the model here and score the model somewhere else,
Yeah.
can they download that similar kind of a file from this platform?
Right now, every parameters of this model, weights and parameters are stored in the backend. But you can use the model, the trained model in other flows. And if you want to see the metrics, you can connect it to other facets wherein it will pull the RMSE scores and everything. Right. So right now we can't see the parameters as a separate file, but if you want to pickle it, maybe we can use it through the custom Python facet version. So if everyone is
in what format? I mean, the background, is it using sklearn or which library is it using? I hope the background is generating some automatic.
Yeah.
So is it sklearn based or is it something proprietary?
No. These models, the random forest models are like generic models itself, but there are some proprietary models for time series specifically. So this.
No, for example, you are saying that you can pickle this model.
Yeah.
You just now you said that.
Yeah.
That you can pickle this model and you can use that model on Python as well, elsewhere in Jupyter notebook.
Yeah.
That's what you mean?
Yeah.
But then this model is coming from which library? So how exactly do I tell Python that how to read that particular model? Is it a model that is based on sklearn or
so
TensorFlow or PyTorch, so that
I think this must be based on sklearn. Yeah, so TensorFlow we are using it in like CNN models, but here in this case, in most cases we are using scikit-learn. Yeah. So yeah, so there are ways, but there are not straightforward ways right now. You can use the Python script to unpickle and save it as a data frame. Yeah.
So that output will go into the code, and the code will pickle.
Yeah. So we are revamping the structure of this. So in a couple of weeks, we should be able to see all the metrics coming directly out of it directly, so that we don't have to go through all these unnecessary steps as well. So it's kind of V1 still, but yeah.
To directly join.
So now what we'll do is like once the predictions are done, what we want to ideally do is that use the trained model and generate some recommendations on a blank data. So
Right now you have used the entire data set for training. You haven't split it
so
based on training testing and all.
the way it works is the predict facet internally splits the data into 80, 20, 70, 30%, 80, 20%, I think in this case. So maybe I'll show you metrics as well. So it gives you a glimpse of basic metrics. So if you go to the advanced tab, if you say, since we haven't named it, so it has internally split the data into train and test parts, and it's trying to train like based on the training data, and it this is the metric accuracy metric, and on the test data this was the performance R square value of the 506 rows that we have passed into the model. So if we are not satisfied with this model, then we can tweak in couple of parameters here, and then we can mention another version name, and if we run it, and we will able to see the new metrics for this model. Right. So it is splitting the data into train and test internally, so that the main motive is like people may not be aware of how to split the data, how to do all sorts of stuff. They just want to apply decision tree model and export it and to generate predictions.
So, 1,000-page setup.
Mhm.
If you have text-based version of this, will you just enter some keywords and join and left join and inner join and so on, and it can get the same output? This could be, for us, could be a bit painful.
Okay. Okay.
For product, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But for us, for research, text-based input to the same thing we made.
Yeah. So every flow is a. So if you can download this flow, right? So what it does is it's a Ikigai .ik format file. It's simple JSON file. Text. So this has all the information about what are the arrows, how it is connected from one facet to another facet. Yes. Yeah. So if you have like, if you can manually type in all this graph here, you can directly import it as a flow. So instead of creating a new flow, you can directly import the flow. Yeah.
For us, it makes sense, but of course, in the industry, for this will work much better.
Yeah, so it's up to like how user feels. Like, so now we will create a recommendation on a blank data. So we'll create a new flow again.
Maybe after this we'll have a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we can.
Let's quickly do the recommendation.
Sure. Sure. So what we'll be doing here is like we will be taking a data in which we don't have any prices, but we want to use the trained model to generate the prices first. Let's say if these are my features, 20, 20, 10 or 10, 10, 15 something. And if you want to generate output, how the model is predicting based on the historical data that we have feed into this model, we will be creating the recommendation flow. So what we are doing here is like we will be taking a blank CSV, and we are creating a new column, target column, and we are connecting it to predict facet and then joining it back with the original data and then exporting it. So we'll pull in the unpriced data. So we can change these values from the dashboard. So these are the features, and we'll connect it to new column, and we'll also add the target variable, which is MEDV.
This is a new empty column.
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah,
Empty column.
empty column, because the model expects every column to appear again. So now we'll connect this to predict facet.
So this is the same predict facet that we created.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in the previous flow, I guess what we have used.
These things are interesting, more different from orange data mining. So orange allows you to create similar kinds.
We have used demo as the model in previous flow. We will select the same model here. So here, since we don't want to overwrite it. So we are using the same model and we are not overwriting it, but we are using, and here again we are using the target column as MEDV, because so if you peek after this, we have features, but we don't have any median values yet. So what we'll do is we'll connect this to export facet and we'll see how the model is doing. So if you see, so there are some values it's predicting out of the data.
Know that these values should go in that new constant. Have you?
So we are specifying the
Okay,
target
you have
column.
said that this is
Yeah,
the
yeah, this is the target column, right? So now again, we are only getting one column as output. So what we'll do is like we'll join this back with the.
this and then put everything there.
So this is only housekeeping stuff. So,
Yeah. And then it's the problem of
and this is left table. Oh no, we want the predictions to be on the right, and the original data to be on the left. And we are directly joining row by row because now if you see, it's matching, like if these are the features based on the trained model, this is how the model is predicting based on the random forest model. And now what we can do is like we can export this as a CSV. So once we have this flow in the background, what we can do is like we don't need to come back to this flow page. We can do everything from the dashboard itself to change the values and run this flow from the dashboard and see how the values are changing. So that is where the AI part is coming from. So if you want, I can explain how to build this again, or if any.
For a break right now.
Okay. Cool.
So we return back in 15 minutes or 10 minutes? 10 minutes. Yeah. Let's be back in 10 minutes. It's 7:06 right now. 7:16. So SPSS modeler also you do similar sort of things, right? At least on the workflow part. Modeler.
Yeah, so mostly we are using Python libraries in
But those graphics are not there. We have to check code वगैरह भी generate हो रहा होगा. Is it possible to look at the code that is getting generated in the background? For instance, you have created this flow.
Yeah.
Can I get the code, Python code that is there at the background?
This is great, right? Can you skip the next one because I come out to I will hold on.
This part is not yeah. Is there any conversation of opening part of it for research and academia?
Yeah. So what we are having a conversation with we are still working on it, and I think it will evolve, become much better very soon.
This better is for them, but for us,
Yes.
open source version of some part of the open source
So
version.
that's what Devavrat was saying, that we'll be happy to make it.
Dedication basis for
We'll be happy to make it. So they want to make it cheaper. Yeah. And basically the money will come from the enterprise version. So they don't even want to use it for
you will see how to do very simple.
Your parents.
Now we have health and media. So many more valuable part of the study. So right now it's called median. Now see the candidate we have some
Can we start again? So we'll quickly go over building this. I've explained it very quickly, but so what we'll do is like we'll pull in the unpriced data from data sets. If you drag it, select this, and in the DB operation bucket, you will find a new column. So why we are doing this is like if we peek here, we only have the features in the new price, unpriced data, but since we want to predict the median values, we'll pull in the median, we'll add a new column facet and you can edit this new column facet and we are specifying a new column name, but we should keep this as blank. We don't want to populate this yet. We want the model to populate these column values. So if you peek after this, so right now there are no predictions for MEDV. So now what we can do is like we'll apply. So click on the new column facets. Maybe I'm going very fast. Please stop me whenever you feel like. So click on the new column facet and again go to the machine learning bucket and drag and drop the predict facet and make sure you will select the same model in which we have trained in the previous predictions flow and keep the override to false. Basically what it does is like we are not overwriting the existing model, but instead we are using the trained model. And the target column we are interested in among all this is the median value. So we'll select the target column and we'll save it. And then we'll join it back with the original data, which is unpriced data. So we'll drag another unpriced data from the left panel and select this, connect this to join facet and assign the table names left and right. Is it too fast?
No, it's okay. The problem you can show the final results and
Yeah.
the
So
power of Ikigai and then we'll explore.
sure. So what we'll do now is like we'll put everything in one place, and so that we don't want to tweak anything for the over and over. We just want to use the model repetitively. So we are creating a new interactive dashboards. Again, if you want to do some advanced version of the app, we can program it, or if you feel the interactive one is sufficient, we can go with it. So here here also it's all drag and drop. We'll add all the elements that are required for this recommendation engine. So we'll create, so this is empty canvas, we'll create spaces and we'll add all the necessary elements into it. So what we are trying to do is like, so if you see the original dashboard, so this is all the tabs wherein we are having all the attributes data set, features data sets and prices in one tab, and then how it looks like after stage one. And then we have another tab for how the predictions look like with a bar chart and everything. But since in the interest of time, we will be building only this tab, the price recommendation tab, not everything else. So what we'll do is like we'll have the unpriced data in a tab, and we'll be clicking the flow in the background from the dashboard itself, and we'll be seeing the output directly here. So I hope the end goal is clear here, and this is also if you want to create some alerts to that you want to send it to email directly, you can trigger flow from the dashboard that will send this data to your email with the CSV file.
Saying that this will send to your email, what do you mean? Because this is a one-shot prediction that you are doing.
Yeah.
So email I want to send when there is streaming data.
Yeah.
Right? There is streaming data and I'm predicting on streaming data. And whenever a certain criteria or something of that sort is met, then an email will be triggered.
Yeah.
This is a one-shot prediction that we have done.
Yeah. So the kind of automation we can do is like, maybe I'm deviating little here. So there is a bunch of other flows in the project wherein it is web scraping data from a website.
Okay.
And then so the dashboard that we are building here is like whenever, so if you are someone who is interested in buying houses and you're searching for various prices in your budget range in your locality.
So that part is with web scraping.
Yeah.
When you're web scraping, so new data is coming in.
Yeah.
And
then every day you schedule the flow to run, or you can directly click from the dashboard and it will, yeah. So this is kind of automating the repetitive process so that you don't have to go to the website, check it. So it will send you the CSV as a data set, attach it to the email, and it will keep coming to your inbox every day or as per your frequency. So we'll go to the dashboard. Before that, we'll save this recommendation data set as a chart. So this is the recent recommendations chart that we have created. I'll quickly save it. So I'm giving it. So this is the data set that I'm interested in. So I'll now go back to the dashboard. So we're starting from scratch. So edit the dashboard. So at the top, we'll have the unpriced data set. So we're taking a single table. So we are using the unpriced data. And then we are adding the run flow button. So if you drag and drop it to the canvas, it will ask for which of the flows you want to run in the background. So I think it was recommendations demo. So we selected the pipeline and we want to visualize the output in the same chart. So this is infinite space. We can add as many elements as you want here. So we'll save this now. What we'll do is now is so let's say if you are someone who is interested in knowing the prices based on the features that are available. So if you have a house, if you are willing to sell your house in the market, and if you know this is the age of my house and in my locality this is the approximate LSTAT parameter value and the number of rooms are like 4 or something, and if you want to see based on the historical data in which we are trying the model, and if you want to see what should be the ideal price in at which I should be willing to sell in the market. So what it does is like it's feeding this data to the flow that we have generated here, and then updating the recommendations here. So now you can see the new data that we have fed into here. So now we don't need to. So every row here is a new feature. So maybe we can start from scratch.
No, for this column was the recommendation now.
So the median values is the recommendations.
Column.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
First column. So we'll use it as many times as you want, and 30, 15 or something.
Whatever data.
Yeah. And we'll save this. So if you want to add new values, and if you say 30, something else. So this. Now we'll run this flow again and we'll see what should be the new value. So we can add as many rows as we want, as many features. So now the flow is fine.
And how do you connect this box, recommend prices box? To your
Yeah, so while we are building this flow, while we are building this dashboard, we dragged the run flow component to the dashboard. So then we selected which flow you exactly wanted to run in the background.
Just do it again. So
Yeah.
You dashboard.
Sure. Maybe, yeah.
Okay, build it from scratch.
So just to explain to Professor Ankur Saran, so we dragged in the run flow component, and these are all the pipelines that are available in the project right now. So we are selecting the recommendation, and so maybe I'll start again. New dashboard. Yeah, so edit this dashboard, please. So we are taking the chart, the recommendation output chart, and we are adding it to the dashboard. Before that, we'll need the unpriced data. So, sorry. So edit the dashboard, select the editable data set.
So can you go to start again, please? Start.
Yeah.
Responding.
Yeah, we will add the recommendations output, the output which is the exported data set of the recommendation. But before that, we'll add the editable data set which we can edit.
So editable data set is more like a table sort of thing.
Yeah. So we can manipulate the values inside the editable table. So the charts are like whatever is the flow is generating in the backend, those values will be updating in the chart. But if you want to manually change the values, you will select the editable data set, and the table type is single, and we'll select the table we are interested in. Yeah, so we are selecting the unpriced data set. So previously Devavrat was showing you like moving things from one table to another table. So that was a matching table instead of single table.
Now,
Yeah.
on the table, how come it has selected only 4 rows?
No, because the
So-
price data has only been
Only 4 rows are there.
Yeah.
that we use for the recommendation.
All right.
Yeah.
So this is the entire data that is present in that table.
Yeah. So this is the original CSV file, but we are opening it in some kind of table format.
Component.
In components, we are dragging the editable data set to the page. Editable data set, drag somewhere. You should see it. Select the single.
Yeah, single का क्या मतलब है? One table.
One table. So matching table is like if you want to move things from one table to other table. So there is a Kanban table and VLOOKUP table.
After single.
So
Select the data. Then select the data set, it will automatically create it. And editable spot.
yeah. After selecting the unpriced data, what we want to do is like, so this is feeding into the recommendation pipeline, right? So we will add the pipeline which we want to run this. So we are selecting the pipeline that we have created recently, the recommendation demo. And this is just a label. How do you want to read this? So it's optional. Recommend me something. So I'm selecting the pipeline.
Now, how does this pipeline know that it has to recommend based on the above table?
Yeah, so this pipeline is basically built out of this data set here, if you see.
Unpriced data.
Yeah, so we are changing the values of unpriced data set here.
So if you change the value of the unpriced data here,
Yeah,
does it affect the original unpriced data as well?
of course. Yeah, let's say for example, this is 100 here. If I save this here, if you go to the flow, if you peek here again,
Basically, you are editing the original files.
yeah. Yeah, so you'll see, so this is randomized now, but if you disable this. So we are seeing so this is exactly the table that we're seeing on the dashboard. So everything we are doing on the dashboard, but eventually it feeds into this flow and it runs, it will be processed through the model, and the output that you're generating, you're seeing as an output in the below table. So is everyone able to add run flow component?
You have the name of the model.
Yeah.
And then there's something called log type.
Yeah, those are optional. So if you want to see the error, so whenever you run this flow, you are seeing the flow has run successfully, right? But in case if there are any errors, if you want to see the error logs,
Log book.
yeah,
Log.
yeah, it gives you the log only. So if everyone is able to follow up to this point, we can move forward. So now what we are doing is like we're adding the output here just to see everything side by side at one place. And then save this. And obviously we can add few other stuff like process diagram, everything to make it more visually appealing and everything, but this completes the part basically. Yeah.
So I think this was very useful. I remember almost 8 years back, I was going to teach in a particular program where people had no background in programming. So they never used Python. So I was just wondering that how exactly do I introduce them to these machine learning tools and approaches? How exactly can I make them use it? And I spent quite a bit of time on the internet, and I figured out that there are some workflow-based programming languages. And it took me quite a few days to pick some of these things up and get used to using these workflow-based programming language, that particular workflow-based programming language. But then, but then interestingly, these guys have covered it for you just in a couple of hours. So I think it's not just about Ikigai. This 2 hours of session that these people have done will also help you with any other workflow-based programming that you might like to do. For example, if you're using SPSS modeler, or you're using Orange data mining, or if you're using Ikigai. So this is just another way to implement many of the machine learning models and all without writing code. And it's interesting that they have this small box there where you can incorporate your own Python code and other kinds of things as well. So thank you very much, guys, for spending so much of time with us and enlightening the classroom, and also the faculty members who are out here. I think must be for the first time for you, where faculty members are sitting on this side and our students are standing on the other side. So thanks a lot, and we hope to see you on the campus more often. Thank you very much.
Thank you for
Thanks a
having
lot.
me.
Look at this.
Yeah, so there are YouTube yeah, I get it. So there are
Everything is available if you go to the resource section
In the Ikigai Labs, website.
No, not in the website, even in the project itself. If you go to the resources tab,
and also like you can find this is like you just need to open YouTube. Search Ikigai Lab. And yeah, in the playlist, like we have provided like intro to no code AI, all the whatever workflow we made, like you can find a step by. So yeah, in this playlist, you can find a step by step like how we have made this. So So like in this workshop, we were able to just show the very small capabilities, but the plan was like, I feel that like it takes time to like very difficult to follow along. But the plan was like after this, like you made a like recommendation system at own. So the plan we was in the mind was, so we want to web scrape data from a live website called Trello realtor.com, and use compare that data, and like we just filter that data out, like if the prices went below a certain range or above a certain range, our email gets triggered automatically to us.
You can have 99 acres and scrape from that and
Yeah.
get a figure wherever and
Yeah. Yeah.
and pretty useful.
That will require code also.
Yeah.
Will run for the real.
They have this Yahoo Finance workflow over there.
Yeah, we have a lot of like you can do this for like you can pull data from any live website as well. You can pull data from Yahoo or any other like stock prices, Amazon stock prices.
The interesting thing with the workflow based programming is that you can share each of these boxes that they call facets. The boxes can be shared, the workflow can be shared.
Yeah.
And there can be a community around it that is kind of distributing their models and code and the workflow, and people can simply pick it up and use it for the purpose.
Yeah, and even like these flows also, like you can just download the flow and just upload it in new machine and just run it in the way or modify in the way according to the use case that you want to build.
So thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
very much. Have a picture with them and then we'll close the session. Huh? Picture, shall we stand on this side? Okay. Just put something at the back. तुम्हारा नया वाला फोन है ना? ये भी।
वहां से ले लेना सर।
हाँ, फिर इस साइड ले लो।
नहीं सर,
हाँ,
अब
ये
बैक
हाँ, ठीक है। हाँ, उस तरफ से ये ओके। We always put IMA logo here whenever we click picture on this side. It's okay. I was just joking. We are part of the family. Yeah, please join. We'll just quickly click a picture. Let's take another couple of minutes of yours. अरे
Okay.
No, I need to find one shot. Not in our pocket. लगे करो thanks for coming. Bye.